Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about this system, this blizzard that we've been talking about for the past, goodness, now 5 videos, 5 days, and it's still, obviously it's wrapping up. It's peaked in intensity. Yesterday was probably the most impactful day, but for certain areas, especially like the Northeast and Southeastern Canada, this thing is still picking up in intensity, and I would say the worst is ahead of you guys there. But the severe weather is done, the mountain snow is done, the Northwest is done with this, the North Central United States is predominantly done with this. Again, now it's just kind of the finishing pieces of it, but it's gonna take its sweet old time across the northeastern United States as it kind of brings in snow there. I think today or maybe tomorrow may be my last video about this system, as there looks like quite a bit of activity in the long range that is, again, pretty interesting and could be a lot more impactful than this system's remnants. But let's start talking about this because there are still a lot of impacts with this system. First off, I want to give you guys a little overview before I dive into the regional kind of divisions. Just a storm. So notice these are all the winter advisories, winter watches that are issued with this system. Obviously, we have still the blizzard warnings across the North Dakota area and South Dakota. Again, the additional snowfall isn't going to be too bad, right? 3 to 7 inches. Again, still something, but mainly it's going to be the wind that makes this really bad. You can see wind gusts as high as 50 miles per hour. And yeah, you can see it's a pretty large area. Winter storm warning still across some areas, mainly for the 4 to 8 inches of snow there. Minnesota still getting that, and there will be some wraparound showers into Illinois, Wisconsin, and whatnot. And you can see right now starting to pick up in intensity across the Northeast. So this is what it looks like right now. Very, very heavy snow across much of upstate New York into northwestern Pennsylvania, and very heavy rain on the southern side of this thing. Yes, a very large, massive system, and there is some severe weather across Florida. Let's start dividing this into regions. So if you're looking, if you're watching this video from the Northwestern United States, hello, hi, welcome. You guys are probably, you're done with this system. I mean, there may be still a little bit of snow across extreme portions of eastern Montana from this, across Wyoming, but predominantly you guys are finished with this system. There is just the cold air that is left in its wake, and let me tell you, there isn't going to be too much activity for the foreseeable future. And even once it does show up, you can see it's mainly light, and it is across, you can see Alberta, Canada, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, more of a clipper, so not a mammoth system. Still will bring some disruptions probably. You could see into Saturday, into Sunday. Again, nothing too bad. Maybe some sort of consolidation. Maybe some system trying to develop here on late Sunday into Monday. Again, not widespread, not significant, and eventually you can see the models kind of, they basically disintegrated. So just through that time frame, for the next 108 hours, nothing too significant, really minimal snowfall. Or as we head into next week, you can see that by late Monday into Tuesday, we do see some sort of a more major system. Again, nothing too big, but it is definitely one that's going to be bringing some precipitation and snow. It's going to probably make landfall around the British Columbia, extreme northwestern Washington area, and that's our next area of concern, and that's the thing that could spawn a big storm across the central United States. So you can see the next, again, 100 hours, not much activity, excluding that weekend clipper, but then things start picking up more, typical of a La Nina kind of storm after storm after storm. So that's you guys for the Northwest. Again, in the near term, nothing too significant. Southwestern United States, same thing. You guys are done with the system. You can see there's still a little bit of scattered showers from that clipper system. That was occurring the past few days following that big system. Again, notice I'm running through Sunday, Monday, no big, really no precipitation. Kind of a battle between warm and cool air. We do see some sort of a system maybe Tuesday, Thursday, and then you can see maybe across Colorado, Wyoming, some snow developing. Again, I mean, I'm running through this, not even stopping this, through Christmas. Very little precipitation events. The ones that do occur are going to be pretty minimal, and the storms that could develop later on, there could be some really big ones across the eastern United States. They won't most likely be bringing too much precip across the west. Later on, towards New Year, it's anyone's best guess what happens. You can see more precipitation getting in there, but no big systems, no big precipitation. And for you guys, in terms of the temperature, temperature anomaly, it will be mainly cooler, but gradually as you push towards the New Year and Christmas, it will start getting warmer. You can see right there the Southwest starting to warm up. There will be cold air as you get towards Colorado, Wyoming. Look at that contrast in terms of that cold. I mean, it's going to be incredible. Most of the United States will be cold. It's this region that will be kind of teasing everyone else, being like, oh, look how warm I am. And that's where everyone would want to be, because some of these anomalies out further east will be incredible. I mean, you can see a little taste of them here. But the Southwest, you're not going to get affected affected by that. So I'll be probably making several videos about this bitter cold. If you live across the Southwest, you could essentially ignore that, because you guys will be, well, clearly you guys will be in very nice warm temperatures, above average, and this pattern may continue well into potentially the new year for you guys. So that is probably not good news for the snowpack, but that's most likely what's going to be occurring. So let's move on to the north central United States. Finally getting to that time of the week with that system where the worst of it is in fact over. We obviously still have quite a bit of activity still going on right now currently across the north central United States. Again, we still have those blizzard warnings issued for the Dakotas, portions of Montana. Again, the snow is still relatively falling pretty heavily across Minot, Bismarck, Arboretum, adding to those snowfall accumulations, but do note that for the most part it's not as profound as it was, and yeah, it's going to be winding down in the next coming days. The snowfall amounts from this system were incredible, especially across the Arrowhead here, Minnesota, into northwestern Wisconsin, 20 plus inches. The highest amount here, 48 inches in Cheyenne, South Dakota. The reason this is so incredibly high is because this is near the Black Hills area here, so that kind of always, these areas always get really, it's kind of like they always get a lot more snow. It's kind of like being near a lake. But aside from those areas, we still saw some 28, 27 inch amounts further towards the south. You could see 30 inches right there, so really significant snow. And some snow still being added to, cities like Bismarck, 6 inches as of yesterday. There's probably another few inches that were added on, and you can see across Wisconsin, Minnesota, also quite a bit of snow, even southern Wisconsin and Minneapolis. So it was a pretty good event in terms of what's coming next. You can see that the next few hours, still we're going to have those light showers and precipitation kind of still skirting across, the states. It will be weakening, and it won't be really as impressive with that coverage, and you can see that by Sunday, this thing's basically gone, and what we have in its wake is just cooler air. And you can see that clicking on a temperature anomaly, it's definitely cooler, but still not the worst of it. I'll show you how cold it can get in just a second here. Total additional snowfall, nothing too major, especially considering what the snow has, comparing to the snow that has fallen. Still, an additional half a foot in some areas is possible, especially near the areas that are near the lakes, and the lakes help them with that lake enhancement. And as I was saying, in terms of the, let's go to the 2-meter temperature anomaly here. And as I run this towards, you can see the 1920th, we really see some barbaric cold air move into this part of the country. Day before Christmas Eve, now Christmas Day. So some very cold air is going to be moving into this part of the country. Maybe towards the New Year, some sort of maybe a thaw, right? But not before you get through some very, very cold air following this system. And in terms of, future storms, you can see there could be one on this upcoming Monday and Tuesday. Nothing too incredible in terms of snow, though. Definitely Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa could pick up a few inches as this thing kind of skirts through. And the models have been kind of having a hard time picturing this, so I wouldn't be surprised if quite a bit of changes occur with this one. Intensity-wise, it could go up or down. We'll see. That's something to watch for. And then a bigger one, more significant one, potentially later next week towards more of Christmas Day. So that's going to be also very interesting. I'm kind of out ahead of that Arctic blast. Moving to the south central United States, you guys, you never really had snow from this system. It was just that severe weather threat. It's been over, really. Even yesterday it was mainly over across these areas, excluding Mississippi, Alabama. Notice now the worst thing you guys have is just the cold air, and you can see each day kind of sags further south. However, a little bit of moderation towards the weekend with that little system, and that could be bringing a little bit of rain and maybe some snow for states like Kansas, into northern Arkansas, Missouri, southern Nebraska, into southern Illinois, Indiana, right there, Kentucky, Tennessee. Some snow showers. Again, how the system evolves, we'll keep you updated. It doesn't look major, but there's still going to be some differences. And following that, there looks to be a brief cold shot, and then towards Christmas Day, there could be a much greater cold shot of air. And you can see that even some models are showing snow across Oklahoma into Arkansas, maybe a white Christmas for these areas as this is occurring right there on the 23rd, and the cold air following this will probably prevent that from melting. So yeah, I'll show you some of these anomalies. Very, very cold air. So that's going to be the biggest news story for you guys. So again, chilly air following this current storm that we're talking about. Then we have that warm up with that weekend system, but then we see that cold air and potentially that snow out ahead of. Right there, you can see that little curve right there, maybe a little snowy system, and then cold air. So there's no reason that if the snow falls 23rd, 22nd, it will probably stick through Christmas. So, if you want a white Christmas here, keep your fingers crossed for that system, because that's your best bet probably. Again, in terms of severe weather, not much more for you guys. You guys are mainly done for that, at least for this foreseeable future. And I feel like a lot of you guys, don't really want the severe weather, so that's probably a sigh of relief. Okay, let's go to the Northeast. This is where we still need to spend a good chunk of our time talking, because this is where we still have a lot of potential snow, and the brunt of it, the majority of it, is still ahead. So notice right now we are engaging certain cities like Toronto in that snowfall. Actually, you're already mainly out of it, but if I backtrack this radar, you could see that Toronto itself, downtown area, may had a little bit of mixing there. It's a little bit hard to tell where exactly, the radar isn't always accurate with that rain snow line. However, further north, it's pretty clear across Canada. It was snowing, and it will continue to as this band kind of moves into more colder air. Syracuse, Binghamton, Utica, and crossing upstate New York, seeing very heavy snow, and this thing will continue. It's gonna be pretty slow. We're looking at the past radar return. You might think that this could move out by tonight, but the developing system, it's gonna be intensifying, developing in intensity, if you will, and this will provide a lot slower of a system than we would normally see. We are already seeing some snowfall reports across Pennsylvania and upstate, or I should say Southern New York. Let me move this. I don't know why it's not doing that. You can see 4, 5, 6 inches right there, 0.9 of inches in Du Bois, and yeah, even into northern New Jersey we saw some snowfall. So let's take a glance now and try timing this out for you guys. Again, it's gonna be kind of tricky, as this is gonna be pretty long, but we thankfully are not far out, so the confidence in these models should be relatively high. Notice again, through tonight, through in the evening, so 6-7 p.m. when I'm recording, this is what it looks like. Notice northern Pennsylvania, you start getting some more mixing still, some sleet, some snow, all of that good stuff. Not really good stuff, bad stuff getting in there. Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, western Massachusetts getting in on its snowfall. And look, I mean, you move this through several hours and this thing almost completely looks stationary, right? You can see that northern progression, but it's just remarkably slow. This low pressure kind of jumping between kind of movements a little bit towards the north, a little bit towards the east. So again, southeastern Canada also getting impacted by this. Tomorrow or today will be a pretty miserable day for travel. Sorry, I keep thinking today's Friday. Tomorrow will be a pretty miserable day, especially as you get towards these large Canadian cities that are lined up against the St. Lawrence River here. And as you push this forward, you can see this low pressure gets more intense. So Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, you're still going to be seeing snow well into Saturday, along with much of southeastern Canada here. And again, even further back here, you'll be seeing snow showers from the lakes and gusty conditions. And, cities like Quebec, all of Saturday, you're still going to be seeing snow. And eventually, though, by Sunday, this is all said and done. Again, you can see the next 48 hours, this thing is still hanging on. For the most part, it's over with, but you can see by the time it's all done, the snowfall accumulations are pretty varied. You could see maybe even additional foot just north of Toronto. So again, by the time the roads here are cleared, it's probably going to be an extra day or two fully, and they're still probably going to be icy, because a lot of this is wet snow, and the cold temperatures behind us are going to make that freeze over, and it's not going to remelt during the day, even if there's sunshine. If there is sunshine, it can, but then during the night it's going to refreeze. So tricky travel conditions in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, upstate New York, again Massachusetts, a little bit of Pennsylvania still picking up some snow. Again, there could be some amounts that reach potentially over 2 feet in predicted snowfall across some of these areas, which is pretty incredible. But given the nature of how slow moving this is, and how slow moving this is, and with the heavy snowfall rates, it's not out of the question. You can see 10 to 20 inches right there, right, total, depending on, again, the elevation, 7 to 15, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, these different regions here, the Catskills, Mohawk, I don't know all these valleys, I don't live here, but I'm sure, if you are living here, you go to the National Weather Service and you go check this out, because, well, this is your best source. And notice this extends into southeastern Canada, Montreal, 15 to 20 centimeters, let's click on that again. And you can see that through Saturday morning. So again, Saturday morning is going to start winding down, but still not going to be completely done. And then we also have some lake effect snow warnings across Lake Erie, 8 to 16 inches of snowfall here. So that's that. And yeah, that's going to be the main news story for with this system. Again, it's reaching its final kind of hours or days, but it's still going to leave a pretty big impact across the northeastern United States. And you can see that the GFS shows quite a bit more snow than, let's say, the HER model, and that's because the HER model goes out to 48 hours, so it stops it right there. there. Though you can see the GFS continues kind of adding on little showers, little snow showers. So I don't know if that's going to amount to too much, but it's still going to be there, allowing roads to be kind of crummy and not too good. And for the Northeast, our next big system is potentially midweek next week. This doesn't look anything significant on GFS, but some models show a more cohesive present system. If you look at the European, I don't believe it does anything big out of that also, but there could be one midweek next week that could deliver a little bit of snow. Nothing too incredible, but definitely something that will be noticeable. And then there could be a massive one later on. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes, so skip towards the long-range portion of the video for that. Let's move on to the southeastern United States. You guys saw that severe weather, that rain. You guys are mainly done. Florida, you have the last few hours of severe weather tonight, and then main news story is the cold air. You can see that 540 line. I don't know if you can see that how clearly, but it kind of is pretty far towards the south, relatively, so cooler air. Won't be bitter cold air. You'll wait for that. In just a second, you'll see. But for the southeast, here is where things get very interesting. So not much in the form of this ongoing system, but in a long range, there could be some sort of a system brewing. Now, you can see midweek, next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, nothing too significant, maybe even some more heavy rain and severe weather towards Florida. It's the second one after this that we're looking for. Out ahead of this extremely cold shot of air, we could be looking, and the models have been, showing this more and more. Look at this, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia. We're seeing a larger and larger system, potentially, delivering snow pretty darn far to the south. Again, how this unfolds, it's still anyone's best guess. I know a lot of people living here may want this to come true, and I can't give you that guarantee. Chances that it will come true exactly like this are very low. Doesn't mean that you won't see snow. It's just that it probably will change. Intensity-wise, maybe it'll be stronger. Maybe it'll go more further south. Maybe, unfortunately, for those that want snow, it'll go further north. But behind this, we will see, ridiculously cold air, even for the southeastern United States. Again, based off the anomaly, you can see some of these temperatures just to give you an idea. You could see 4-5 degrees across Tennessee, especially where that snow falls. But even further south, all the way to the Gulf Coast, it's gonna be cold. Obviously, later on, some moderation occurs, but it's gonna be again only after we get through that very cold air. So let me go on now and start talking a little bit about this long range. I touched briefly about this when I was talking about the southeast, but for those folks that are coming from different regions now, skipping towards the end, I want to say that again, the first area of concern behind this storm that again, let's say that we're done with already, right? Assuming we're talking about the long range here. As I put this forward, we do have some sort of a system that could be developing into the early portion of next week. Now, the European isn't too excited about this, but a model like the GFS has been consistently showing more and more from this system. And let me show you this. So again, there's our current system. It goes away. We're not concerned about that here in the long-range portion. But look, the GFS shows some decent even snow potential across Kansas and Nebraska, a few inches at least. And I don't think, honestly, this will eventually turn into anything massive. You're right, the models aren't really supportive of that. But definitely an event that could drop a few inches of snow. Doesn't need much to provide, disruptions. The bigger thing we're concerned about is this. Out ahead of this very cold air, we see this little, kind of almost like a clipper system initially coming in off the northwest. This thing develops into a, snowmaker for a lot of states. And some models show an explosion, an explosive system across the central United States, right? So that's that. Some, like the most recent GFS model run, show a very incredibly powerful nor'easter. And you can see boom right there. So that's definitely something we have to watch for. There's definitely a model agreement to that. If you look at the latest European model run, it shows that same little system, right? That after that midweek one, which the European is less excited about. We see that little guy, and then look, it develops into a big guy. Massive nor'easter potentially with, again, snow getting pretty far towards the southern United States and a lot of cold air left in its wake. And the models haven't been too terribly consistent on this. If you look at the European, they've all shown this system for a while now, the secondary one, but they all have different kind of interpretations. Notice the European from midnight yesterday, so just a model run prior to the one I showed you, show this system developing into something bigger a bit further towards the west, providing significant snow for the Great Lakes, but into the northeast as well. So again, the models have been showing this for quite a bit of time now, and they continue to do so. I don't see any trend in pointing this away. It's just that they haven't been consistent with what this thing will exactly be. If you look at the GFS from a day ago, so yesterday, exactly 24 hours ago, let's run this back to the beginning again, this is what it showed. So again, there's that little midweek storm that could drop some snow, but there's that little guy that we're really more concerned about. And look, the GFS did show more of a nor'easter yesterday, but it was very weak. It wasn't too significant, and again, very, very cold air. That's consistent. The cold air we're very confident about. It's just kind of what's out ahead of this cold air. That's a little bit of a question. Notice the GFS from midnight yesterday, so a little bit more recent than 24 hours ago, showed that system, and it had an even different interpretation. So each time it changes a little bit. Which one would it actually be? You know, we don't know. At this point, it's just something we'll have to watch. It's definitely something, you know, we could be speculating about and have some fun. But, yeah, notice that the most recent, not the most recent, the one from today at 6 o'clock in the morning showed that midweek system. And look, it never really showed anything, right? I mean, you see it tried showing that little disturbance right there, but it went from showing the storm, you know, media one, to showing nothing. And then more recently, with the noon model run, it goes back to showing an even bigger system. So there's been quite a bit of disagreement. And notice that with each model run, also there's been more and more excitement with this midweek system from the GFS model. So that's interesting to see as well. But notice there, and boom, we have that nor'easter, which this one today at noon really showed one that would dump a lot of snow for the coastal cities in New York, Boston. You know, that's I know that's many of your guys' dreams right there, and potentially another one right after that. And then the most recent model run backed off from maybe the you know, as still a pretty intense nor'easter, though. Look at that. Boom. It's just a little bit different orientation. So it's anyone's best guess at this point. We'll have to wait and see. But there definitely is some stuff brewing. Alright, guys. That's basically it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.